Hello and welcome back to Koala Moon, children's bedtime stories and meditations designed to make bedtime a dream. In tonight's magical story, our littlest friend with the biggest heart is entrusted with a jar full of something very special. Wishes. Yes, wishes that have been made by their owners and collected up into jars. This is Fenella the Unicorn's Runaway Wishes by Alicia Ainsley. Tilly Sparkle the fairy flitted through Sleepy Forest as she often did, carrying 3 big jars in her arms. She almost dropped them on several occasions, but she was determined to keep the jars safe and return them to where they belonged. After all, she carried precious cargo. Inside the jars were wishes. Tilly Sparkle had one very specific duty, and that was to catch lost wishes and store them safely until she could deliver them back to their wishmaker. Once they were back with their original wisher, she could make them come true. It was a lovely duty to have as far as fairy jobs go, and Tilly took her job very seriously. The problem was that people were making so many wishes these days that she struggled to return them all. She quite literally had her hands full. Fortunately, when Tilly Sparkle was passing through Sleepy Forest on this occasion, she bumped into someone who loved to help small creatures in need, Fenella the tiny unicorn. When she spotted Tilly desperately juggling her jars, Fenella immediately offered to help. "Why don't I look after one of the jars for you?" Fenella suggested to Tilly. "I can keep those wishes safe while you deliver the others. Then, when you return, the wishes left behind will be waiting for you." Tilly was delighted to receive some assistance. If Fenella took the fullest jar, then Tilly could better carry the remaining 2. Tilly gratefully handed over the biggest jar to Fenella, full to the brim with white swirling stars bearing tiny, adorable smiling faces. She thanked Fenella for her kind offer of help and promised that she would return for the jar in no later than 2 days' time. As Tilly Sparkle flew off into the distance, coping much better with 2 jars than she was with 3, Fenella the tiny unicorn watched with happiness. She adored helping others, and being in charge of a jar of wishes was a very special form of help indeed. She gazed at the jar of shimmering, creamy white stars and listened to them chat amongst themselves animatedly in their high-pitched, unintelligible voices. She wondered what the wishes were for. Maybe one of her own wishes was in there. Fenella carried the jar safely back home, where she placed it on a shelf in her bedroom. As long as she kept the jar of wishes here, they would come to no harm, and when Tilly Sparkle returned, they would be ready and waiting for her. This was going to be an easy job, Fenella thought to herself. Once she was dressed in her pajamas, Fenella checked on the wishes one last time to make sure they were safe. "Good night, little wishes," Fenella whispered to the jar of glowing, adorable stars. "Sleep tight, and I'll see you in the morning light." Then Fenella turned off the light in her little bedroom and snuggled up under a blanket to rest. Fenella curled up to sleep that night, excited for all the wishmakers who would soon have their precious wishes come true. Once Fenella was fast asleep, the swirling wishes flickered and flashed within the jar, bouncing off the sides of the container, faster and faster, picking up pace. As the wishes moved quicker, the jar started to wobble and shake. Eventually, the jar wobbled too hard and fell over, tumbling off the side of Fenella's bedroom shelf, landing with a quiet thump on the fluffy rug below. The jar's lid popped off, and out poured the stored wishes. The freed wishes giggled with their high-pitched voices and flew around the bedroom, bouncing off the furniture and crawling up the walls. Then, one mischievous wish noticed a gap in the bedroom window and squeezed out into the night. The other wishes followed suit, and within moments, all the wishes had escaped out of Fenella's bedroom window and into the forest outside. The snoozing unicorn didn't see or hear a thing. When Fenella woke the following morning to find the empty jar on the floor, she was astounded. She thought she'd put the jar in a safe place, but clearly the naughty wishes inside had found a way to wriggle their way out. Unsure of what to do, Fenella called her two best friends for help, Dinky the tiny giraffe and Tiny Steve the mini elephant. Fenella's two equally small friends arrived as soon as possible to help with her plight. She explained what had happened and sighed. So many people will be so disappointed if their wishes are lost and never come true. But Dinky the giraffe and Tiny Steve weren't disheartened. It was clear to them what the answer to her problem was. "It looks like there's only one thing we can do," Tiny Steve said. "What's that?" Fenella asked hopefully. Tiny Steve flashed her an impish grin and replied, "We have to go find the wishes and put them back in the jar." Dinky and Tiny Steve were giddy at the prospect of playing a scavenger hunt for wishes, but Fenella seemed doubtful. What if the wishes had long gone by now? They could be flying around Timbuktu for all they knew. "Come on, Fenella, you can't give up that easily," Dinky said, encouraging his friend. "We've got to at least try." Fenella perked up at Dinky's encouragement. "You're right," she said with a smile. "Let's go catch those runaway wishes." The tiny trio set out into the forest, carrying Tilly Sparkle's now empty jar, a large butterfly net, and a bag of snacks. Fenella, Dinky, and Tiny Steve wondered and looked all around them for signs of the sneaky, escaped wishes. "So how do you think we will find them?" Tiny Steve questioned Fenella. "What exactly do we need to look for?" "Look for little bright white stars with tiny smiley faces. Oh, and listen for a high-pitched tinkling sound. That's the sound of their voices," Fenella instructed. "They will be unmistakable if you see one. They make you feel all happy and tingly inside. You can feel the hope bubbling inside them when you're near, and they fill you with hope too." The wishes sounded delightful. Dinky and Tiny Steve hoped they would find some wishes even just to feel those lovely feelings Fenella described. The tiny trio set out on their mission. After a while, Fenella paused in her tracks. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Dinky and Tiny Steve pricked their ears and listened. There was a soft, twinkling sound coming from somewhere nearby. They looked all around them, inside bushes and behind tree trunks, but they couldn't see a wish anywhere. However, there was no mistaking it. They could definitely hear a twinkling sound. Where could it be? Fenella muttered to herself, scanning the ground. Then she realized wishes could float and fly. Who was to say the wish was on their tiny eye level? Fenella lifted her gaze to the treetops, and lo and behold, on a branch right overhead sat a star-shaped, gleaming wish. The wish was snoring as it snoozed away. The wish had clearly had a tiring night flying around the forest. Fenella whispered to Dinky and Tiny Steve, "I found one. I found a wish." She pointed to the tree branch, and Dinky and Tiny Steve practically melted. The wish looked so sweet and peaceful. "This is great, but now we have to work out how to get it down without it flying away," Dinky said. "That tree branch is out of reach for any of us." But the little elephant stepped forward and announced proudly, "Don't worry. This is exactly why I brought my net." Tiny Steve held the long stick in his trunk and reached it up towards the tree branch. With a precise, gentle swish, he scooped up the wish in the net and carried it back down to the ground. "Well done," Fenella grinned as she slipped the wish back into the jar and sealed the lid tight. "That was easier than I thought it would be. Now let's go find the others." It wasn't long before the tiny trio heard the familiar sound of twinkling and jingling vibrating through the forest once again. They followed the sound of twinkling magic all the way over to the entrance to the rabbit warren. The hole that led underground shone with a faint silver light. Fenella tried to stick her head inside to get a better look, but the hole was too tight. She could barely stick her nose in. Dinky tried to stick his long, slender neck into the hole, but again he couldn't fit due to the pointy horns on the top of his head. And Tiny Steve's trunk couldn't reach in far enough either. "For once, it seems we are a bit too big," Dinky chuckled as the three of them contemplated what to do. Fenella shook her brain and wondered. Maybe we're going about this all wrong. A rabbit's warren goes very deep underground, so we won't be able to reach the wish ourselves. And how rude of us to enter unannounced. Fenella stepped back up closer to the warren, knocked on the door at the side of the entrance, and waited for someone to answer. After a few moments, a small whiskered face peeped out of the narrow hole in the ground. "Hello," the meek, whiskery face squeaked. "May I help you?" Fenella introduced herself. "Hello, I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Fenella, and I'm looking for something I have lost that I think has hidden inside your warren. You see, I have lost one of my wishes." By any chance, is there a wish in there with you? The rabbit's eyes widened, and she smiled gleefully. Oh, yes, there is a wish in here. The sweet rabbit replied, It flew into our hole last night. I think it was a bit lost in the dark, so we let it stay with us until morning. Shall I go get it? Fenella replied that she would love to see the wish again, and the rabbit disappeared back inside their warren for a few moments before re-emerging. Here you go, dear, the kind rabbit said as she gently handed over the drowsy wish cradled in her arms. It's had a nice hot meal with us and even had a bubble bath. It should be asleep for most of the day now. Fenella carefully took the wish from the rabbit's arms and placed them safely inside the jar with the other retrieved wish. Thank you very much for taking care of them so well, Fenella said gratefully. The tiny trio said goodbye to the kind rabbit and continued on their quest through the forest. They had 2 wishes down. Now they just had a few more to go. Let's split up for a while, Fenella suggested. We will be able to cover more ground if we each search a little corner of the forest. We can meet back here by this boulder in a couple of hours and bring any wishes we've managed to catch. Dinky and Tiny Steve agreed it was a good plan. So, while Fenella headed to the north, Dinky took the east and Tiny Steve went to the west. Fenella, the tiny unicorn, walked around for a while carrying Tilly Sparkle's jar in the saddle on her back. She looked high and low for any sign of a wish and breathed as quietly as possible so that she could hear everything around her. Eventually, she heard the familiar sound of a jingling wish. The wish chimed faster and faster before stopping with a gentle poof. The unusual sequence of sounds was followed by a voice crying out in disbelief, I can't believe it! Fenella followed the sound of the voice over to a large hedge. She crept up to the hedge and pushed her head through the foliage to take a look. On the other side of the hedge, she saw a hedgehog glowing with the most beautiful, luminous white light. It was almost as if he had swallowed a wish. The ecstatic hedgehog was climbing into a majestic hot air balloon that had landed by his side. The glowing hedgehog exclaimed, I can't believe my wish has come true. The hedgehog danced excitedly inside the hot air balloon's wicker basket, and Fenella watched on with a big smile on her face. It looked like a wish had made its way back to its original maker. Tilly Sparkle had the best job in all the world. It must be wonderful to see people so happy every day as their wishes came to fruition. Fenella heard the snap of a twig behind her, and she turned around to spot Tiny Steve clomping towards her with his elephant feet. Look what I found, Tiny Steve announced triumphantly as he approached Fenella. He held up his butterfly net by his trunk, and inside was another wish. Great job, Tiny Steve, Fenella smiled, before noticing that the net was sopping wet. Why is the net wet? she asked confusedly. Tiny Steve explained that this mischievous wish had been lying at the bottom of a river. Luckily, being an elephant, Tiny Steve loved swimming, and he had easily managed to swim over to the wish and collect it in his net. He tipped the wet wish into Fenella's jar, and she sealed it shut. He asked Fenella if she had had any luck finding any more wishes, to which she smiled and whispered, "Look over here." She and Tiny Steve peeked through the hedge again, and the small elephant spotted the hedgehog in the hot air balloon. But, most notably, he noticed how the hedgehog was glowing with the bright light of a granted wish. Tiny Steve smiled happily. "The hedgehog got their wish back," he observed. Fenella smiled contentedly. Maybe they wouldn't find all of the wishes that had escaped after all. Maybe some of the others had found their way back to their wishmaker too. Fenella and Tiny Steve decided to return to their meeting point to see if Dinky had found any wishes. If Fenella's predictions were correct, then there should only be a couple more wishes left to find. She only hoped they would find them before Tilly Sparkle returned. Back at the boulder, Dinky was already waiting for them, holding a wriggly wish inside his snack bag. He told Fenella how he had successfully lured in the wish with the promise of scrumptious snacks. It seemed that wishes had a soft spot for granola bars and berries. Although, now that the wish had eaten up all the snacks, it was trying to escape again. Fenella took the bag from Dinky and tipped the greedy wish into the jar with the others. As soon as it was returned to its rightful place, the wish relaxed inside the jar with a high-pitched sigh. Fenella was pleased she had asked her friends for some help. They had done a splendid job of collecting the wishes. If her calculations were correct, there was only one more left to find. Fenella, Dinky, and Tiny Steve plodded through the forest as the day drew on, growing wearier and wearier. They had been searching for the final wish for a while, and were starting to wonder if perhaps it had reached its wishmaker too, or whether it had flown to the other side of the world by now. But after some time, they started to hear that familiar jingle. Fenella sighed with relief. "Oh, thank goodness," she thought to herself. "We have found all of Tilly Sparkle's wishes." They looked around for the wish, checking high and low, and made a startling discovery. This particular wish had landed up high, way up high. This particular wish had flown all the way up into the sky and was resting on a cloud passing by. Tiny Steve tried to reach the wish with his butterfly net, but it was just too far away. Fenella felt disappointed. They had done so well to collect all of the wishes so far, but this final one was too hard to get hold of. Tilly Sparkle would feel so let down. "It's no use," Fenella pouted. "We will never be able to reach that wish." Just as Fenella the unicorn had given up hope, the tiny trio heard a voice suddenly call out from the cloud. "Does this belong to you by any chance?" A little blue arm waved down at them from on top of the cloud, and Fenella, Dinky, and Tiny Steve recognized the creature instantly. It was a dream giver. Dream givers live in the clouds, and this runaway wish must have landed in one of their gardens. Fenella called back, "Yes, it's ours. Do you know how we could get it down?" Without hesitation, the dream giver flew over to the wish using his fairy wings and climbed aboard the wish like a horse. "Hang on," the dream giver called out. The dream giver rode the wish off the cloud and down through the sky, guiding it back to Fenella on the ground. She held Tilly Sparkle's jar open, and the dream giver steered the shimmering wish inside before hopping off its back. Fenella was so pleased that she felt like her magical horn might burst. They had got back all of the runaway wishes. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," she enthused to the dream giver. The dream giver assured her it was no trouble at all. Dream givers love nothing more than seeing dreams come true, so they were glad to be of service. The helpful dream giver wished them all sweet dreams before flying back up to their peaceful cloud. With the last wish back inside the jar, the trio of friends could finally relax. They began to form a plan to share the night watch in case the mischievous wishes decided to make a break for it again while they were asleep. However, it turned out that they didn't need to worry, as Tilly Sparkle appeared through the treetops and flew over to them. "Oh, good, you still have my wishes," Tilly Sparkle grinned as she reached Fenella's side. "Here you go, Tilly," Fenella declared with a relieved smile, handing over the jar. "Although I have to admit, one of the wishes got away. But the good news is that it found its way back to its wishmaker." Tilly smiled with delight. "That's wonderful," she said. "That means I have one less wish to grant on my rounds. Thank you for your help, Fenella." Fenella admitted that it was all thanks to her best friends Dinky and Tiny Steve that the wishes were safe and sound, and Tilly thanked them accordingly. Tilly Sparkle happily whizzed off into the sky with the jar of mischievous wishes, and Fenella, Dinky, and Tiny Steve waved to her until she was out of sight. As soon as the fairy had disappeared, they all plopped to the ground with a mixture of exhaustion and relief. "Phew! That was a close one," Fenella gasped. Dinky added with a yawn, "All that chasing wishes around has tired me out. I never knew that wishes could be such hard work." The tiny trio lay down side by side and gazed at the stars in the sky. The moon glowed overhead, and the stars twinkled in abundance. They looked beautiful, like thousands of wishes hovering in midair. Out of the cosmos, a shooting star streaked across the atmosphere, surprising and delighting the tiny trio. "Shall we make a wish?" Fenella asked with a smile. Dinky shook his head. "I'm not so sure," he replied. "I think I've had enough of wishes for one day." But Tiny Steve lifted his trunk to the sky and declared that they all deserved to make a wish after the day they had. So, the three friends each closed their eyes and made a wish upon the shooting star. Who knew? Maybe they would see Tilly sparkle again sometime soon, when she came to deliver their wishes back to them and made them come true. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky, until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy. You can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. Anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime, now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They are here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one. Sleep